Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. At some point in our crafting journey, and I'm not sure it actually makes a difference which type of craft you decide to pursue, you may find that your hoard, stash, collection, obsession, passion, whatever phrase you choose to use, well, it gets to the stage where it's organised, but more organised chaos than organised. A couple of years ago, I got to that stage with my stamps. After subscribing to a stamping magazine for a couple of years, I was inundated with piles of A4 stamp sets, random themes, random sentiments, and I found that I was spending more time looking for what I wanted than actually using what I had. I embarked on a project which took me a good couple of weeks to get to the end of, to try and sort my stamps out in a way that meant I could find what I wanted. And the main area that I had an issue with was sentiments. I've seen a few Facebook posts recently where people have been talking about sorting out their sentiment stash. So I thought I would just show you how I organise mine. It did take a few weeks to sort them all out, but it was well worth the effort. So here is my sentiment box. And what I did was I took every single sentiment off of every single stamp set that I'd got, whether it was from a brand or whether it was from one of the magazines, and I put them in piles. And what that meant was that I could sort my stamps out by theme. So for instance, if we put one out here, this is love. So these are all the stamps I had which mentioned love. Once I'd sorted them out into the piles, I cut up copious amounts of A4 cardstock into half, and I stamped each stamp onto the cardstock. On the front and on the back, I then ran it through my laminator. So this is actually a laminated surface, which meant that I could stick my stamps onto the back. And I then put them in a pouch. So now, rather than having to flick through piles of random stamps, I can just find the pouch that I want and find the stamp that I want, because I know that I've got just the right font, and I know I've got just the right wording, and I know it's just the right size, and I now know that I can find it. And even those where they're not classified, because they're laid out so clearly and they're stamped onto the white cardstock, I can literally just flick through, look through the stamped images to find the ones that I want. But then I was finding that sometimes I didn't want a stamp sentiment, sometimes I wanted a die, etc. So this has actually now become my sentiments box. So in it go my sentiment stickers, my sentiment dies, and go my sentiment toppers. And I also found that there was a plethora of sentiments that I wasn't using, which were in my Papercraft Society wallets. So each time a Papercraft Society wallet comes in, I photocopy either the stamps or the dies, and this can also go in the front of my sentiment box. So I'm making sure that I'm looking through my whole stash so I can find exactly the right thing in exactly the right size, in exactly the right shape. So that was my sentiments. What that did, however, was that left me with A4 stamp sets or branded stamps which were random, because in an A4 magazine stamp set sometimes you might get 3 fairies, 3 trees and some mushrooms. What do you do with those? So once the sentiments were finished, I embarked on the next project. And so regardless of the source of the stamps, the brand of the stamps, I removed them all from their backing sheets and sorted those into piles. And I followed exactly the same process. Once I'd sorted them into their different sections, I stamped them out, laminated, and put them in pockets. But it now means that whenever I want to create a card for a particular occasion or theme, I can go straight to weather, wedding, whimsical, winter, woodland, travel, sea, oriental, etc., etc., etc. So this process took some time, but I have to say it was really worth the effort. And the time that I used to spend looking for the stamp that I knew that I'd got, I can now spend creating with the stamp that I knew that I had. So I hope that someone somewhere gets some use out of this little video. I know it's not what I usually do. So thanks for watching today, and hopefully I'll see you again for the next video.